What is up? I'm John Hansen. Welcome to the Week 13 Matchup Points live stream here at fantasypoints.com. That is Brett Whitefield over there. That is Adam Caplan over there. Our guy Tommy T on the other side of the glass. Mr. Caplan, an NFL insider, speaking to teams on the regular. Brett, I forgot your title. COO of Awesomeness.
It changes every day. It's a bit at this point, John.
Yeah, it is, but it's fine. But we're ready to go here, and we do have a final week of bye weeks here. So let's get into it. Seattle at Dallas. Adam, we have a pretty clean injury game here, right?
Should be. Yeah. Here's a cool thing, and this is important for those of you of Metcalf and Lockett. Metcalf had a lingering toe injury. He's off the injury report. Lockett had the hamstring problem for several weeks. Would limit him in practice and so forth, but he's not even on the injury report this week on a short week. That's great. Look, there's got to be some reason other than Geno Smith why their passing game has not been what we thought, and these guys have been hurt for most of the season. Charbonnet starts again for Walker. Walker, as you saw 2 weeks ago, he grabbed that oblique on the run, then he got hurt. So it's Charbonnet again, and hopefully he could do a little better.
We're going to get that the tackle back for Seattle.
Yeah, he actually yes, Charles
Abe Lucas
was activated. Yeah, he was activated tonight. So yes, yep, he will play tonight.
Well, that'll help Brett here when we look at the matchup. We might as well start with Seattle. What are your thoughts? DK Metcalf against man. I kind of like him against man. But what are your thoughts on the matchup here? Those Cowboy corners are outstanding. Certainly JSN should be targeted. I think everyone kind of likes JSN. It's a Thursday night special. What do you think is the key here? I would say they got to run the ball, obviously, right? Which is success.
Yeah, and that's going to be with the game script in hand. I think that could be an issue. I think early on they can get after it in the run game for sure, but I do think Dallas eventually pulls away in this game. That's going to be hard to establish that run. Over the last 5 weeks, Dallas has played the fourth most man in the NFL. So I do like DK against man. Geno, though, hasn't been awesome against man, especially there's certain looks that he really doesn't do well against, like double press, for example. And Dallas will come down and press those wide receivers. I don't think DK will see a lot of press, though. That's scorned teams in the past. So I think DK is going to get some cushion, which could free him up for some cheap free yards. And Geno's going to need that to move the ball. Geno's surprisingly good under pressure, actually, this year, John. I think he's top 10 in most efficiency stats while under pressure, which doesn't correlate with the rest of his game this season. But whatever, we'll take it.
Yeah, Adam, what are your impressions of Charbonnet? It hasn't been. I mean, he definitely looks like one of those volume guys. He's got to get the volume, which he kind of got last week, but he still didn't really do much.
Well, the problem is they need to have a lead. One of the big reasons why they drafted him is because they want him to be the closer. Something we talked about before Walker's injury when he did well coming off the bench. You saw nice catch game.
Yeah.
The problem is they're not moving the ball well in the air. They're not able to set anything downfield, and they're playing from behind here. Their defense, their secondary in particular, is good enough to keep him in the game. But you're right. He's volume based. This is why they drafted him. And unless they're really behind, he'll probably get 12 to 15 carries in this game and probably 3 to 4 catches. But the problem is, John, their passing game has been the issue here. So hopefully Geno could do well, as Brett talked about, against man coverage, because it certainly has not happened for him this season.
For Dallas, obviously, they're 9-point home favorites. Our guy Chris Weck came on the SiriusXM show this morning and talked about how they've made some adjustments, I guess more outside zone. So Brett, you're with me, I'm sure, on Tony Pollard getting it done here, getting the ball. I actually kind of like Rico Dowdle. His prop is like under 20 yards rushing. I think it's 19 or something like that. And when you look at the quarterback coverage tool, not the best matchup schematically here for Dak.
Yeah, so starting with Pollard, I said it on your show yesterday, John. He looks back to me. Over the last 4 games, he ranks first in explosive run rate, third in forced missed tackles, and second in yards after contact per carry. All that looks good. He's still getting some volume in the pass game as well. I think he's like top 10 in expected fantasy points for running back. So I think all that looks really good, especially, in a game where Dallas could have a lead for most of the game. So as far as Dak goes and the coverage, the thing with the Seattle defense is they have been stingy in certain spots. Especially, I think our numbers suggest they're really good at defending the slot. The problem is, and I think it's a little bit of a trap, is they've actually shuffled that secondary up a little bit. So we don't really know how that's going to shake out. Jamal Adams has been their primary slot coverage guy the last few weeks. He's given up 11 catches in the last 2 games. So I do think CeeDee Lamb, everyone's, marking him down for this game. I actually think he's just business as usual for CeeDee. He's going to see a lot of Jamal Adams, and when he's on the outside, because he only plays 50-50, really, 50% outside, 50% in the slot. I don't think he'll have an issue. Seattle just plays a ton of zone, and it's not like he's going to catch some crazy shadow or anything. I think they'll be fine getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb. Yeah,
Adam, at this point, CeeDee Lamb, I mean, I think he's almost matchup proof because correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, back to you quickly, like hasn't Lamb done better outside than inside?
There's definitely been certain games where, again, against zone-heavy teams, it's like they could scheme him up wherever he's at. So he's done really well on the outside as well.
I'm surprised Witherspoon is not playing inside as much. That's stunning to me. In nickel, he doesn't play inside. It makes no sense. I don't know. Boy, Jamal Adams, I know they have to account for his contract. He has to play just the way it is. But he's a box player.
Yes.
That's, boy, John, that's something that I'm interested to see. Brian Schottenheimer, a former OC for the Seahawks, to see him help McCarthy tonight scheme it up to take advantage of that matchup.
Yeah, no question about it. Moving on here, as I adjust my light one more time to make it a little less bright in here. Next game on the docket. Just to make sure by the way, real quick, I do like Jake Ferguson here, Brett. Any thoughts there? I mean, it seems pretty basic. They've got 3 good corners, play a lot of zone, middle of the field. Any thoughts on Ferguson tonight?
Yeah, I like Ferguson. Seattle has been spotty, I would say, against tight ends this whole season. So, and if Jamal Adams is going to be in the slot too, that kind of takes him out of the box. I think he's the big worry. That's probably the one thing he does decently well at this stage is cover tight ends. And so if that's not going to be his primary assignment, then for sure, I can handle that with Ferguson.
Denver at Houston is the next one here. Injury-wise, Adam, Noah Brown looks like he's trending toward a return.
He's close. I wouldn't give him the thumbs up yet. Tomorrow's
Okay.
a big day. He definitely not. He's been out for a while. No, the big thing is Tank Dell, but this is a new injury. They expect him to play. He took some reps today. He didn't take all of them, but he took some reps today. Dalton Schultz is the big one. He hasn't done anything yet this week. Tomorrow, we'll see. Right now, I call him questionable. For their defense, Jimmy Ward should be back. He's been out for a while. One of the starting safeties. And Noah Brown's got to take more reps tomorrow. That's the key for him to get cleared.
Well, not the best spot here, Brett, offensively here for Houston in terms of the pass, and a great spot for the running game. I know that they're a little bit more of a passing team, obviously, but this matchup is just inviting you to run the rock here. Honestly, what do you think? I just don't see big digits here for Stroud in this one.
The one thing working in Stroud's favor is Denver's pass rush is still really bad, even in their defensive renaissance. I think over the last 5 weeks, their average time to throw is 2.81 seconds.
That's a lot.
Which is it's the second or third highest mark in the league, just behind Seattle and Detroit. So I mean, they're giving quarterbacks literally all day long, and so it doesn't matter how good your secondary guys are if the quarterback can take advantage of that. So I do think that's probably really, really good for Stroud. To your point, though, I mean, running the ball is going to have to be a thing. Denver is as good as the defensive renaissance has been. Again, it's still, I think the last 5 weeks, they're giving up 1.4 adjusted yards before contact per carry, which isn't bad, but it's not great either.
I know it's more than that, Brett. It's like 2.
Oh, over the last 4 weeks? 5 weeks? Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm seeing that now. Yeah. 2 exactly. Good call. Yeah. So that's terrible, actually. So.
And Houston's blocking it up pretty well too, by the way. So I kind of think now, Adam, back to you. Last week, it was kind of a splitting up of the rushing duties.
Couple things here. Pierce is off the injury report, so that injury should be behind him. I'm a little surprised that they did that, considering how well Singletary did, Because Pierce is, we all know he's not a good fit for the scheme. He's been awful.
Singletary looked great catching the ball last week.
I know. I was going to bring that up. That was where Pierce really helped himself last season, is catching the football. But I'm a little bit shocked that they split the carries like they did. So that's not good for Singletary, though. Didn't Singletary get more snaps than Pierce?
I believe so. Yeah.
I believe it sounds right.
Yeah, but the problem is that they split it. That to me is really bizarre to me. Why would they not go with Singletary, who was clear? He's the only. They want this scheme starts with the run game, and why would you not want to have Singletary be your feature back? That I can't understand.
Well, Bobby Slowick did kind of allude to it last week that it's a little bit of a two-man backfield, if you will. Like can't remember exactly what he said, but it wasn't like it's all. I was inclined to give Pierce some love after reading the quote,
but it should be a 2-to-1 split based on Singletary clearly being the only back they have who's shown anything this season.
Yeah,
in fact, showing anything, he had 2 really good games. I don't quite understand that one. Yeah.
Brett, do you think we're seeing a shadow situation with Nico Suave Collins and Mr. Pat Surtain?
I do. I think that's a given at this point. Yep.
So I think a secondary guy, could do very well here. I mean, maybe a Noah Brown or Bobby Trees. So just throwing that out there. And for Denver, I don't know, man. I'm almost at a loss with Javonte Williams. I've always been a big fan, but every catch he has this year seems to go for 3 yards, and he just can't seem to score. I don't know. He's going to get the ball. I don't know, Brett. Do you have any thoughts here on Javonte and the Broncos here? They're hanging in there. They're kind of manufacturing offense somehow and hanging in there.
Yeah, it seems like this should be a good game script to get him going even more. He looks explosive. I think since he's been back, he's been top 3 or 4 in explosive run rate. So the explosiveness is there. It's just the consistency. They're not blocking it up well. He has a lot of stuffed runs, a lot of runs that go for 0-1 yards. To your point, his yards per reception is like crappy too. So really this should be a good game script. I know Houston's tough to run on, but the game should be close, and as long as it's close, I think they should keep pumping the rock to him.
John, here's the problem though. Pirine scores on a 3-yard run inside the 5, so they take him out, and then Wilson had a quarterback keeper instead of handing it off. So, I mean, it's another problem.
Any thoughts quickly before we move on the schematic matchup here for Russ? I don't think it's the best matchup here for Russ Wilson and their pass catchers.
No, I know Russ was like 22nd in our coverage score this week or something like that, or coverage grade for a matchup. I would say at Steven Nelson versus Cortland Sutton should be a matchup we see a lot of. Yeah, and Nelson's been sticky as heck in coverage, but the one thing he hasn't been great at is at the catch point. Right. And that's Sutton's whole game. So I think maybe Sutton still kind of trucks on there, but I mean, Nelson's not really giving up anything, but when he does, it's just a contested catch situation. So
yeah, Jerry Jeudy just I actually bailed on Jeudy. We buried him that first injury in the preseason. I'm like, that's it, man. And it was a preview of things to come because we were kind of all in on him, and I was like, nope, that's it. And sometimes we do that and it works. That's an example. Guy frustrates me to no end. Moving on, next game. Chargers at Patriots. We are trending toward Bailey Zappi, but Adam, back to you. Yep. Not looking good here for Pop Douglas.
Yeah, he hasn't practiced since he got hurt 2 weeks ago, so it's highly unlikely he'll get cleared after missing 5 straight practices with a concussion. Really hard to get cleared on a Saturday, even a Saturday, if you haven't practiced. So look for him to miss. And then Keenan Allen has a quadriceps injury. Now, he did work on the side today, so he's certainly very questionable to play, and he's an older player, John. This is what I was concerned about with him.
Yeah.
When you really need him most for fantasy purposes, you question. He's got the bad shoulder, though it's not on the injury report. He's dealing with a shoulder issue. He's got the quadriceps injury. Everett will play for the shoulder issue. Quentin Johnston, it didn't look good in the game where he got hit in the ribs, but he's going to play. He took all of his reps today. But the big one is Keenan Allen. Be careful, folks. You better have somebody else ready.
Anything on Josh Palmer? I mean, they're not really telling us about that.
No, John, it's real simple. He hasn't even been cleared to practice yet on injury reserve. So not good.
Hey, we're dying out there on the waiver wire, man. That's
I know.
what I'm thinking about. It's a not a bad plug and play guy here.
Yep.
Well, Brett, I mean, I don't see much here for the Chargers.
No, it's gross. The only thing is, like, we could do the Jalen Hyatt routine from last week. Quentin Johnson might catch a deep ball. That's about it. Like, it's really all I got. And this is a gross matchup for Eckler. He also looks terrible, by the way. Yeah, it's bad. Injuries have destroyed that man, unfortunately, it seems like.
Yep. Well, I will say, especially with Douglas, I mean, if they don't get the tight ends involved in this matchup, I don't, what to think. So I do like Hunter Henry, Gesicki too, I guess, but I'm not going there with Juju or anything like that. Ramondre hanging in there for sure. He'll get the ball. Yeah, this is nasty. This is just grotesque. Move on. We'll move on to the next game. I was just looking for anything else to point out, and there's just really nothing. Well,
no, Ramondre, look, is the man. I mean, this is what we were hoping. He is the absolute man.
He is. Give him credit. Zeke is pretty good too in a pinch. But Detroit at New Orleans. Adam, what is the deal? It's not looking good for Rashid Shaheed.
Nope.
It seems like Olave, has a real chance.
He's questionable. He has not taken full reps, which means he's only about halfway or so through the protocol. Tomorrow's a big day for him to get cleared. If he doesn't, it's rare for players to get cleared on Saturday. Not impossible, but tomorrow's a big day for him. Just one good note for the Lions, because their offensive line's been banged up. Jonah Jackson he's missed a lot of time. He should be back this week.
Oh, that'll help.
Yep, that'll help. David Montgomery's fine. He took all his reps today. The Saints. So
Pete Werner.
Pete Werner is a very underrated player. Hasn't done it. He has 2 injuries. Marcus May, one of their safeties, is hurt. Cam Jordan's hurt. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But the groupie kid who's had a great year for fantasy. He's got a right groin injury, but he had it last week in kick, so he should be good to go.
I saw that. You spent money on an injured kicker.
Yeah, but he put up 5 field goals being hurt, so he must be fine.
Well, you're a Garupi. I mean, let's be honest here.
That's right.
Garupi for Garupi. What else? Well, I mean, Alvin Kamara is going to get plenty of work here. What do you have any thoughts on, Brett, this matchup here? Again, Kamara is probably going to get this could be one of those 12 catch games for like 39 yards. And anything else on the Saints offense in this matchup against Detroit?
Yeah, I don't like Kamara on the ground this game. Lions have been really stingy against vanilla run approaches, which is what the New Orleans Saints are. They don't really have a robust, quarterback read option game. They do with Taysom, but he always keeps it. So it's I don't see Kamara getting a lot of space. I think Detroit's already only given up like the 10th least points on the ground to running backs. Then
it's true. They're actually not giving up a lot of catches either. But Kamara is the worst top 5 running back that I've projected ever.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, the catch stuff I think is going to have to come if Olave and Shaheed are down, especially. I mean, he's going to have to get targets. The Lions don't give up crap to tight ends either, though. So, like, this really could be the Kamara game in the in the pass game. So
yeah. And then for those Lions, I mean, we do have this as a favorable matchup here with the Lions O-line and mauling. Adam said they're going to be healthier. New Orleans is getting moved. They've got some injuries here. So this looks like a game where the Lions could kind of impose their will.
The Lions the last 5 weeks are generating an astounding 2.68 yards before contact per carry. That is absolutely insane. Yeah. And they did that with Jonah Jackson and Frank Ragnow being banged up and rookie Cordy Sorsdahl starting 2 games and getting his butt kicked on some plays. So, like, that is absolutely crazy. I've never seen a number that high in my 10 years of doing this. So that is insane. They should definitely go out to impose their will, especially with what we've seen from Goff the last 2 weeks. They want to settle him down, take the pressure off of him. I think the best way to do that is to get that run game back ticking.
But Adam, you could also see Goff being comfortable in the pocket in a dome against this pass rush or lack thereof.
Yeah, and they could protect. He just has to settle down a little bit. He needs to. Yeah, Look, New Orleans has a deep secondary, but remember Lattimore, though, their best corner is
Oh,
on
right.
IR.
He's out.
Let's
Yeah,
not
that's
forget
true.
that. They have a lot. They're pretty deep a corner.
I did forget
But
that.
with him, without him there, that changes everything.
Yeah, it does. But I think for the Lions, it's. I remember it being a bigger deal last week. I mean, who is going to really exploit that situation? Josh Reynolds? I mean, no offense.
Amon-Ra.
Yeah. Amon-Ra, sure.
J-Mo?
J-Mo, maybe.
I wish.
Yeah. They have been sketchy against tight ends too. So Laporta is you're fine with that. You're rolling with this guy. Saints had allowed 4 touchdowns to tight ends in 3 consecutive games, weeks 8 through 10. The only thing that ended it was they faced Kyle Pitts. So that guy's never scoring. Moving on to the Falcons and the Jets. Oh boy. Injury wise, Adam, I'm not even going to talk Aaron Rodgers. What do we have here injury wise? Not much.
Nickel corner Michael Carter should be back this week. That's actually big for them.
Yeah.
And then their offensive line's getting a little bit healthier. That's pretty much Falcons they're in pretty good physical shape. They've had injuries have not been a problem for them at all this season.
Brett, one of the worst running games, I mean, in recent memory. I mean, they haven't had 60 or more non-scramble yards in like 2 months rushing.
Yeah, another mind-blowing stat, 0.37 adjusted yards before contact per carry for the Jets the last 5 weeks. What that means, if you're not familiar with the stat, listeners, their running back isn't even he's crossing the line of scrimmage and not even getting 1 yard past line of scrimmage before he's being contacted by the defender on average. So juxtapose that to the Lions, who are averaging almost 3 yards before contact per carry. That's quite a stark difference, and you can see why this run game is not good. The O-line is just not getting it done.
Now, Drake London won't. They don't travel. I think Drake London's been pretty good this year, but tough matchup here on these outside corners, Reed and Gardner.
Yeah, Drake looks good. He always looks good. When our separation tool comes out this summer-ish, you'll see that he ranks near the top in separation generated on every single play. So
wow,
he's a monster. That offense just can't get him going for whatever reason. So,
me being a separatist, I was very skeptical of Drake London and last year, but who I spoke with who set me straight because he had seen him. I just kicked my thing. Roddy White came on the show. I'm like, dude, you got to help me out with Drake London. He's like, yeah, no problem. I said, can he separate? Can he line up outside and separate in the NFL? And he said, absolutely. I'm like, done. Yeah. And he was right. So, but this is a tough one, tough spot here. Boy, Adam, any thoughts on Des Ridder and where we're at? Like,
no, he's got accuracy issues. All the issues that personnel people had with him are still there because Brett just talked about it. London is he's a go and get the football type of guy, and if he's getting open, means the quarterback's not getting the football. They're not going to. This is an evaluation year. They're going to make a decision, obviously, after the season who's going to be their quarterback. It's not looking great, but the other problem is Kyle Pitts, John. I know he's not on the injury report. We don't talk about this enough. There's clearly something wrong there. I don't know what it is. Arthur Smith every week he doesn't give a direct answer. It's really bizarre.
So you're now worried about maybe this knee was never right. I mean, he practiced and worked all summer.
But what I don't understand is I know they have a small media contingent. Why didn't they write about the way he looked?
You can see it when he comes out of breaks. Something like I could send you guys some clips later. Something's definitely weird. He'll pull up, like legitimately pull up out of a break, and some of these airmail balls that Ritter's throwing, they're airmailed because Pitts he's not hitting full speed through his breaks.
That's not good. That's not good.
Wow. So are we saying that maybe we need to apologize just a little bit to Arthur Smith, perhaps?
Well, let's take the guy off the field if he's hurt, like, come on.
Bro,
Plus, but John, his usage of the running backs has been completely baffling.
Yes.
That's been strange. I mean, you want to give him a pass on Pitts, because I know he's not on the injury report. He clearly has not looked right. And I mean, if you have him, I can't imagine you would use him anymore. In fact, at this point, I don't know why he's on anyone's teams.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, I've got him in one league we're in that damn draft we did. Actually, I have Evan Ingram, so screw it. Evan Ingram was off a couple of weeks ago. Or no, I started him over Evan Ingram, which was dumb last week. Cardinals, Steelers, injuries, Mr. Caplan. Well, we've got plenty here. Like Michael Wilson. This was a knock on Michael Wilson.
No, he's not playing. John, he's had this lingering shoulder problem for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He's in practice in a while. Now, Hollywood Brown, to get him through the week with his heel injury, this is their plan not to practice him.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he's already played with another injury, not practiced during the week. So
last week,
I don't know if he might have been limited on Friday.
I don't think he did. I don't think he was. I don't think he practiced.
Well, he actually he worked on Wednesday and then didn't work Thursday and Friday.
Oh, right. That threw me off. Yeah, he did.
Right.
Okay.
But he didn't do it, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. But he's shown the ability to play without it. Now, Trey McBride is expected to play. Zach Ertz wanted out. He asked out. They waived him today. It's so you don't have to worry about Ertz coming back and taking stuff away from him. Their awful secondary, John, is so banged up. They started this kid Starling Thomas. I'm sure Brett's seen him.
Yeah.
He hurt his ankle, so he probably won't play.
Hamilton out again.
Yeah, he got hurt again. Yeah, he's got a groin injury. He probably won't play. And Kenny Pickett at least showed some pretty serious life last week.
Yeah, Brett. You were, I think, a little bit of a Pickett, skeptic, and obviously it's only one game, but I just think it's startling that it was the first game after Matt Canada. It was the first time they went over 400 yards in over 40 games. I mean, what do you think here? I mean, what are the chances that we can keep this up? I feel pretty good about it, actually.
The biggest takeaway for me was it looked like Kenny Pickett finally had permission to just be a dude. Just go out there and rip it. And he lacks arm strength. We know that. That's no surprise. So for him to push the ball outside the numbers down the field, he's got to throw. He's got to be decisive, timing, rhythm, get the ball out. And he did that last week. First play of the game, he ripped the seam ball right down the middle to Freiermuth. The decisiveness was the best I've ever seen from him. So, I mean, even going back to college, one of my big issues with him is just hold the ball forever, run around, kind of be a lunatic back there. And then very disciplined game from him. Hoping we get a back-to-back performance of that.
Adam, you and I were pumping him up. I got to say, it looked exactly like the preseason.
Not quite, from what I understand, by someone who graded the coaching tape. It was obviously way better. He needs to stand a little bit more tall in the pocket. There were some times when he moved, and he didn't drive it always, but this is by far, that's not even close. It's really his only good game of the season, and I'll take that, and they'll improve in that. And here's the thing. Mike Sullivan has been around a long time. He does take input from his other coaches. You notice it wasn't bubble screen central. There was actually real NFL throws in this game. They junked the college offense that Canada used, and these are real NFL throws, and he made plenty of them. And this is encouraging. And the thing that I told you weeks ago, one of the big things that they disappointed them is the lack of intermediate throws. Look at how many throws Freiermuth got. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so frustrating, not to belabor this, but you have so much to work with that, you add it all up cumulatively. I do believe that Kenny Pickett can do very well here. You've got your intermediate guy in Deontay. You've got your seam stretcher who can line up outside. You've got your vertical threat in Pickens. I mean, you got a two-headed monster here. I mean, there's a ton to work with. Pretty good O-line as well. And then Najee, Brett, I think he's like leading the league in explosive runs or something, or 15 more yards or more. It's crazy.
Last 5 weeks, second in explosive run rate, 18th in forced missed tackles, 11th in yards after contact. All those numbers have significantly better than the first 7 games of the season. So,
and a lot of that too, in my opinion, is O-line coming together. I mean,
O-line coming together. I think they found the right balance between him and Jaylen Warren, where
that too. Yep.
Warren is also explosive, and they're not giving Najee 30 touches, which I know for fantasy seems like a good idea, but I'd rather get a more efficient Najee that looks fresh and explosive than.
They all have good matchup. Like literally all the Steelers, Every one of them.
Pickens and Deontay, the aforementioned Starling Thomas, Deontay should see him a lot this week. That's a big time matchup for him. He should destroy him.
Yeah. That's a plus 26 grade here. Pickens is right behind him though, at plus 24. If Kenny Pickett doesn't get 2 tutties here, we'll give him a pass if the running back scored 3 or 4.
Yeah.
God, I don't. Am I wrong? Has he ever thrown? Was there 0 or 1 2 touchdown games in his career?
I think he may have had a couple with the rushing and a throwing.
But I'm talking about throwing. I don't know that he has 1 or he either has 1 or 0.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up, but I
think it was like 18 straight without double digits.
Incredibly,
two or more,
absolutely nuts. He's done it once in his life in the NFL against the Raiders. That was in September. Everybody looking good there. I had one other thought here, damn it, before we move on. Well,
Arizona offense we didn't touch.
Oh, yeah. Joey Porter, probably going to see some shadow coverage here.
Yep. He will shadow Hollywood Brown. The other thing too, the underrated component of that secondary, Chandon Sullivan, who they brought over from Green Bay, is slipping the slot. He's given up 5 receptions the last 5 games. That's it.
Wow,
that is nothing.
Yeah. And by the way,
man, they play. That is crazy.
By the way, we're getting Minkah Fitzpatrick back too.
They are. Hey, a couple things, John. Let me add. Michael Carter. Did you see last week? He was.
Yeah, he did.
Back. Yep. They cut Ingram.
Oh,
DiMarco is the 3. He had a toe injury. He's off the injury report. But Carter was the 2, and he also sold time as a nickel running back.
Yeah.
So he's starting to carve out. This is why they claimed him. This is a role for him. He'll help Connor a little bit.
Well, it's not good for Connor right now, man, because he did get some targets last week, but Michael Carter looks like a better bet.
Yep.
And you got Kyler vulturing tutties, so James Conner's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And not a great matchup overall here for the offense too, against Pittsburgh. I think they're going to be pretty fired up with Minkah back. It's in Pittsburgh, so they should be ready to go. Next game is Indy at Tennessee. Injury wise, obviously no Taylor. We'll get into that. Juju Brents looks like he's going to be out another week at him. Looks pretty clean otherwise.
Yeah, Brents has been out for several weeks. He's one of their starting corners. So look, we know what the rotation is going to be. It's 80% Zach Moss, a little bit of Trey Sermon. The reason why Sermon's there is because Shane Steichen coached him last year in Philly, so he'll be the backup. This is big for Tennessee. Treylon Burks is close to being cleared from his concussion.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling badly, to use a guru term, if you're dying for some upside late in the season, he could be that guy. But they need his size and his playmaking ability. They're not getting much out of Kyle Phillips, so they could use him.
Brett, what do you think of Levis? It seems pretty good, actually. Like kind of contained, under control. Our coverage tool liked the matchup for him last week. He didn't do much, but it was an efficient game for him. Very efficient.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game for Tennessee. It has been when that passing offense is efficient, they tend to move the ball a lot better. Obviously, they only put up 17 points or whatever it was, but he looks fine. He looks better than Bryce Young. He was drafted an entire round later, so he looks good. You can see the arm strength. The arm just flies out of his hand. He's got a lot of little detailed type stuff to work on. One thing he does that drives me insane is he has this fadeaway when he throws the ball. I don't know if you ever noticed this.
Oh yeah,
fades off to his left, and it kills his accuracy like really bad. So
Eli used to do that, I believe.
Did he? Okay,
a little bit.
But he does look good. He runs that offense well. I love him on the play action boot stuff that Tennessee does. He just looks really fluid. He's a good athlete, probably an underrated athlete. I'd like to see him actually run the ball a little bit more. I don't think he's actually there's no designed QB runs in there, but they should probably add that.
And Derrick Henry, we liked him last week, and once again, he does extremely well. A, at home, B, in wins. last week was both, and he was a top 5 running back.
Mhm.
Not as easy of a matchup and situation with the Colts being pretty potent on offense, at least compared to Carolina, but certainly a great spot here for Derrick Henry. And for these Indy Colts, how about Michael Pittman, man? He is awesome, and downs look pretty good. Brett, matchup wise, these Titans have been better, but still no pass rush, and it's just like exploitable matchups across the board.
For sure. Pittman, it looks awesome. He's been a revelation.
He really does.
He's been productive his first couple of years, but he's taken a step forward. I featured him on my podcast yesterday, actually.
Yeah,
talking about guys who I think made the most money so far this season. He's one of them because he's hitting the market at the exact right time. Yeah, I love the matchup too. Tennessee is very soft against the pass. They play, a lot of really off zone coverages, and Pittman should eat that up. That's just kind of what he does. So,
yep. Zach Moss, Adam, RB1, right?
Oh yeah, you saw how well he did filling in for JT earlier this season, and I give Steichen credit because he really wants to be a pass game guy, but it's hard with Minshew. You want to be careful, and I give him credit. I mean, just look at what Moss did. We know how much he struggled. He got benched, and he lost the starting job there when they handed it to him in Buffalo. But he's revived his career. He's on a contract here, so this is another guy who's getting a shot, and it's kind of going through him. You saw John. I mean, they fed him like crazy, Moss.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
and he produced. He was great.
He looks pretty explosive. I hate to say it, Brett, but I do kind of. Our guy Alec Pierce is just toiling, but it's like he makes a couple plays every week. I wouldn't be floored if he finally. I'm waiting for that big shot play.
Well, this is the matchup for it, right?
That's what I mean. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Tennessee can't get after the passer either. Like their pressure rate over expectation is one of the worst in the NFL. They are just horrible rushing the passer. So
Miami at Washington. Well, man, we got a boatload of dudes on the injury report here for the Dolphins, Adam, but it looks like everyone's just limited.
Okay, so here, Achane still very questionable with the same knee issue. Mostert should play. It's the same 2 injuries he's had. They limit him during the week and get him ready. But defensively, this is if you have them, their fantasy defense. Here's the concern: Jalen Phillips out for the season.
Yeah,
with his injury from last week. Javon Holland, one of the best safeties of the National Football League. Both knees are an issue. He got hurt, as you saw last week. So that's a concern. Tua's fine. They're responsible to put him on the injury report. He cut his right arm, so which is not even throwing arm, so who cares? So and look, and their offensive line's banged up too, man. That's another issue for them.
That said, Brett, we are expecting some fireworks here for Tua. So talk about why exactly. I mean, Tyreek, they don't have anyone to stop him. That it starts there, I guess.
Yeah, it's the coverages, right?
Right.
So we have Tua, I think, is our number 2 coverage matchup of the week. Will Levis being the only guy above him. Will Levis won't get the volume to really, have that matter. Where Tua will get the volume to have that matter. Washington plays a ton of man coverage. Tua absolutely destroys man coverage. So good luck with that. Good luck checking Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I think Washington, they've given up at least one wide receiver every single week of the season. I believe that's true on the outside. So that's insane. Many weeks they've given up 2 of them. So
they're almost giving up 200 yards a game
to outside receivers.
To just let's see here. Hold on a second. Just in general, not maybe all receivers, all wide receivers.
Yeah, that's John, they have the worst group of 43 defensive ends right now. They're all backups who are having to play. We know how much they've struggled in the secondary. Tua, they could do whatever they want to do in this game. It's one of those games, John. Whatever Miami decides they want to do, they'll be able to do it.
I will say, if Devon Achane is out again, like Jeff Wilson's getting you 10 points.
Yeah, he did a good job last week.
He did. He looks pretty explosive, and DC is allowing 7th most adjusted yards before contact per attempt, per fantasy points data. Fancy. And for DC, Sammy Howell, Brett, what are your thoughts here? I mean, Howell seems to be bad against man-to-man, which Miami doesn't play a lot of, but obviously, you got those two corners, so it's a little scary. No Jalen Phillips will probably help, though, with the pass rush.
Yeah, no Phillips will help. Howell, I give the kid a ton of credit. He has battled this entire season.
Yeah,
Every time I'm like, oh no, he doesn't look like the guy. The next game he looks like the guy, and he keeps fighting and he keeps slowly cleaning things up little by little. The sack rate, I've mentioned it now 2 weeks in a row, it's continuing to come down. So I think that was his biggest issue was, we know that line was bad. So you have to, as a quarterback, you have to know that and adjust accordingly. First 7-8 weeks of the season, he wasn't doing that. Since he's been, turnovers have come down. I give a lot of credit to Sam Howell. He looks good. I love his moxie too, just ability to, forget about the last play if it was a bad play and just go on to the next one and let the ball rip no matter what. Yeah,
he's always had that moxie. Adam, do you think that we had a little consolidation of the passing game, or was that a fluke? Because with DC, because I do like Curtis Samuel here. I mean, he's going to avoid Ramsey and Howard on the outside. I hope, though, they don't go back to throwing a ton of balls to Pringle and Crowder.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, they've still spread it around. Oh, a couple things here. Gibson and your guy Samuel both off the injury report. They've had these lingering toe problems.
Yeah, and I like Gibson here. He's going to catch 5-6 balls.
Yeah, it was disappointing. He only had 3 last week in a game where they got blown out. You would think he'd be their hurry-up back. Robinson, by the way, did play a little bit on third down. Not as much as he did, but he played a little bit.
He did. Yeah, it was a little disappointing. It just didn't work out. The thought process was correct. They were playing from behind as we thought, but it just did not work out. But now that he's off the injury report, I feel better about that for sure. If they're playing from behind,
he was under siege. I'll say this much: Howell was under siege. Their line could not block Dallas's rush at all.
Yeah, it
was really hard for him. I give him credit for those of us who had him. He still ran up, like, depending on you're scoring 17 points for not throwing a touchdown pass. He did run. He had that run in. He had that run in inside the 5-yard line. I'm like, a couple plays before that, he got smoked. He got plastered. I was shocked that they let him run that one and didn't give it to Robinson.
Yeah. And then Brett, bad spot here for McLaurin. You'll see a lot of Howard or Ramsey. And then Dotson, same deal, basically.
Yeah. I like Curtis Samuel, though. He's going to get Kadar Kohu more than likely. That's a winnable matchup for him. Yeah, and the way they give him volume too. It just to your point too, John, about the consolidation. So Dotson and McLaurin both played over 85% of snaps. They both participated in 90% of the routes run, which is great. Samuel was down at 55%, but I think a lot of that was volume. Like, he had to come off the field because they were throwing them the ball like every other snap. So
yeah, yep. Carolina at Tampa, injury wise here. Hayden Hurst is long gone. Von Bell, I see, Adam.
Their safeties, they're really banged up at safety. This has been an ongoing problem. J.C. Horn, my understanding is he has to feel like he's 100% to play. So I give their defense credit. It's very competitive. For Tampa, a couple things. Rashad White is off the injury report. He gave everybody a scare being added last Saturday.
He's so tough.
Yeah, and Baker, this is good for Mike Evans in particular. Baker took all his reps today. He'll start. That's great for Mike Evans because you don't want Kyle Trask to be the quarterback.
No. I see Godwin was added to the injury report. Man, he has had a bad year. I was wrong.
This is his second neck injury this year. I'm hoping that he's okay.
He's like buzzkilled out this year, man. He's like in a bad, I don't know. He's not the same guy, Brett. I mean, we kind of knew that. Those manufactured touches outside. Maybe that Russell Gage injury hurt. I don't know. But, Godwin's not playing well. Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, just since the knee injury, he just is not as explosive. So the efficiency is way down. So even when he has like a heavy game plan, he's not ripping off those long run after catch situations or contested balls downfield.
Yeah, he's slot only. I hate to say it, going forward.
Yep, it looks that way.
Damn. Man, I love Godwin, though, overall. That breakout year of 2019 was beautiful.
Yep.
God Chriswin. How about that play where Rashad ran it to the freaking 1 foot line and then did the sneak with Baker?
Yeah.
The play he got hurt on.
Karma.
I mean,
it was very odd. Yeah, it was odd that they didn't give it to Rashad because
that's an easy 6. That's a touch.
And by the way, Baker's got a very small frame. That was probably not a smart move.
That was dumb. Well, great. Another great spot here. I mean, you want to talk about volume? Like, I mean, Rashad maybe we should have him at 2 for the week here. I mean, geez. I mean, we've got him at 4. And it's like it's not even outrageous at all. 18 carries, 72 yards. That's not a lot. What's that, like 4 yards a carry? I'll pull that up right now. 4 yards a carry, 3.5 grabs. Dude's RB4. So that's volume plus actually being good at stuff like catch the ball and maybe even short yardage, honestly. I mean, we're not going to go there yet, Brett, right? That Rashad is good in short yardage just yet.
He does have an innate ability to get skinny through the hole. So
he does.
Yep. Yeah. I will say this too, like his missed tackles force is still bad. It's still low, and his yards after contact are still low, but they have come up the last 5 games or so. So he's trending the right direction.
Maybe the missed tackles force is a trade-off for the weight and the bulk that he added to withstand the pounding.
Definitely seems that way. And like we've mentioned before, in the open field, he can make guys miss. It's just around the line of scrimmage, he just has a hard time with it. So,
well, yeah, and by the way, it's working because he's handling the pounding. Like, this is an old school season right now for Rachaad White here with a massive workload. Schematically, I saw that our tool didn't hate it for Carolina, but I don't know, man. Don't you just head for the hills with Bryce Young against any zone heavy defense?
Yep. Especially one that can disguise coverages, can send, Tampa's going to use a lot of fire zone and they're going to get after you, disguising coverages, sending random pass rushers your way. Too much for Bryce to have to diagnose post snap, in my opinion. I really don't like this matchup for them.
Oh, Adam, injuries for the Bucs, by the way. Jamel Dean and Levante David, they were both out.
Jamel Dean's not playing. David might play. They'll see tomorrow. But Jamel Dean's he's not expected to play.
I mean, I hate to say it, I really do, but like on a long shot, maybe even Chark, Brett. I like Mingo, but
Mingo's got an injury too, so he's got a lot to play.
Maybe Chark this week.
Chark's going to get the rookie filling in for Jamel Dean, so.
Yes, exactly.
McCollum, I think his name is. So you would expect
McCollum's been there. Yeah, he's a second or third year player.
Oh, is he? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
What about Thielen? Any thoughts on what happened with Thielen last week?
No, I mean, just that pass game is so out of rhythm. It's so bogged down and bad right now. I mean, that's really my only guess.
I mean, from what I saw, I honestly, full disclosure, it's not a game I went back and I rewatched, to be perfectly honest. But I kind of felt better about Young. It was almost a game in which they were like, let's try and do something without throwing it freaking 12 times to Adam Thielen. I mean, I could be imagining that. But it's not like it was a scary matchup by any stretch, right?
Well, hey, John, understand Thomas Brown's taking the play calling over again. He didn't do it well the first time around. They pulled the plug. Reich pulled the play after the plug after 2 games.
How do you get 3 targets though, Thielen? How does that happen?
Yeah, it's John. They're so off. I mean, it's because their scheme's bad.
It was the game plan was horrible. They ran the ball 30 times to running backs into a brick wall over and over. Tennessee is one of the best run defenses in the league the last 5 weeks or so, and Carolina they were in 3rd and 10 freaking every drive. I mean, it was bad. So
we're going to go back to throwing Thielen 10 balls a game?
There's no way to know. No way to know.
In lieu of a handoff? I don't know. Very, very strange. I'm mad at myself for not saying to sell high last week on Thielen because I almost did it. I'm like, you know what? This is unsustainable, really. Are you going to catch 120 balls in one of the worst offenses ever?
Yeah, I know.
Moving on, Cleveland at LA. It does look like we're potentially wacko. I'm wacko for Flacco officially.
We're trending. He had a great game against the Jets last year. Against the Browns last year. Remember that at Cleveland? basically won the game for him.
Arm strength is still good.
Yeah, that's not the issue, man. It's what's around him. So the Kareem Hunt should be able to play with his groin injury. And Njoku took his usual Wednesday off. He's got this lingering knee injury. He took all his reps today. So yeah,
Denzel Ward.
Yeah, he doesn't look good. He's got the shoulder issue. He's been out. Thornhill's had this lingering calf injury. He was able to play last week. He probably should be able to play. Myles Garrett, they'll see tomorrow. He's obviously hurt his shoulder. We'll see.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of injuries here. But any thoughts, Brett, on if it is in fact Joe Flacco? I think that's good news for Amari Cooper. I can see him getting the ball downfield to Amari Cooper.
Yeah, last I saw Joe Flacco, I wasn't too enamored with this play, but honestly, I think this is just a classic Cleveland run the ball game. Rams have been just really, really bad against the run. Flacco being new to the building, I could see them trying to protect him a bit. I go out there and I run the ball 35 plus times. So
I'm just saying, if I had to bet on who is going to throw for the most yards and have the chance to hit 200 among these three quarterbacks, it's Flacco. So
that's fair.
I mean, I think it helps Cooper a little bit. Anything else here? Otherwise, let's see here for the Rams. You talked about Cooper Kupp, so articulate again, Brett. What's going on? How has his usage changed? Is he hopeless? What's going on?
Yeah, so Kupp, all those big seasons he had as a pass catcher, he was the center point of the offense. They're running an insane amount of plays. Were designed touches for him. I think 43% in 2022. He's down to 7.1% this year. So it's a drop off of 34% of his targets are coming via the designed avenue. Puka Nacua has basically taken that role over. This role has existed in that offense, since McVay's been there. It was Bobby Woods for a while, and then they slowly transitioned that over to Cooper Kupp, and then now Puka Nacua has kind of been that guy. And they're not backing off that, even with Kupp back. They're not backing off that. So,
by the way, Kupp he practiced more this week than he did last week. Mm-hmm. They're having trouble getting it working, John. I told you that weeks ago they're playing 2Z receivers. It's really difficult. I don't know what's gonna happen week to week with this thing. And you saw Higbee, by the way, all of a sudden.
Oh, please.
In the red zone. I know, in the red zone.
Well, and Brett too, Puka. I had a caller this morning on Sirius XM pulling his hair out because he has Puka, who's been Duka for the last 3 games here. I mean, it does feel a little bit like a rookie wall. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, the target volume is still there. It was disappointing last week playing the Cardinals. That was a soft defense. They should have done a lot better than they did. But like I've said for a few weeks now on the Wednesday show, John, Stafford doesn't look great either. He doesn't play well. Hurt. I know he's got some lingering stuff going on. His accurate ball rate has fallen off a cliff. He's missing open receivers. All of it is just disjointed right now. And maybe getting Kyron back and being able to lean on the run game could help. Get back to some of the play action stuff they do. But it's been ugly.
I'll admit, I had a complete blinder on Kyron Williams this year. I was not seeing that at all. How much better is Kyron freaking Williams this year, Brett? I mean, is it just a function of a running back getting the ball? Because to me, I don't know if he was hurt last year, Adam. He looked like a complete jag last year.
John, again, no one in the NFL thought he was a lead back. He wasn't built to do this, what he's doing. And it's just happening. And McVay doesn't care if he wants to play only one back, not two. Now they got a huge lead, so Freeman play a lot.
Yeah.
But Williams had over 200 combined yards in his first game back. Now he'd been practicing for a while, but they're going to have an interesting decision because they didn't draft him to be a starter. But he's been so dynamic this season. They're going to have to reevaluate this. And if you're in a dynasty league, you have to look at the situation too and pay attention to it, because if they don't draft a running back in the first 3 rounds, John, he most likely will be the guy next season.
But my rule, and maybe he qualifies if a running back comes out of nowhere and is a stud and then gets love the next year, never works. So
he reminds me of a young Eckler, guys.
Who's that?
He reminds me of a young Austin Eckler. When the Chargers found him, they're built very similarly. Their game resembles each other very well. I think Kyron's a better receiver than he is runner, but it works in certain game scripts. Early on,
was never a burner either.
Exactly, never a burner, but he did have Melvin Gordon early on in his career. Yeah. So I think Kyron could even survive, a 3rd round pick at running back. I think he could still be valuable. That whole regime, though, what happens this offseason is going to be fascinating to watch because they're in a weird spot.
I feel like if I had Kyron Williams in a dynasty league and I'm not going anywhere this year,
Trade him.
I'd probably sell. Assuming I would need a lot for it. Maybe even a 1 the next year. But anywho, just throwing that out there. And the matchup here. Any thoughts on the actual matchup? By the way, Brett, against these Browns.
So the Browns corners have been susceptible lately. Like they've been like I think our wide receiver CB Tool, we actually list all these matchups as favorable other than Tutu.
Yeah. Is Newsome outside again now?
Yes. Mike Ford is taking over in the slot. Newsome is much better in the slot than he is outside, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I like both these matchups with Puka and Cooper. Martin Emerson's been great all year, and that's still a thing. So I think he'll lock down Tutu. But the other two guys have good matchups. So if the volume's still there for Puka, I think he could have a decent day. Nothing crazy, but a decent day.
Adam, you would not.
Quick, the reason why Ford played on the outside is because played Nichols because Ward didn't play last week and Newsome had to play on the outside.
Is Ward back?
No, I don't know. He might not be. So we won't know till tomorrow.
Adam, you would not start Cooper Kupp, would you?
It always comes down to who else I have. That's what always comes.
I mean, I have him in our dynasty league, and I'm in the tank here. I'm literally tanking it.
He clearly is not right. He's doing better this week than last week, and it's a combination of they're having to Jimmy rig these two receivers who are similar, and Nakua and Kupp. Then you got a quarterback who physically isn't right. I mean, I give him credit. They fed Williams. He was great, and we'll see what happens this week.
One more point before we move on, Brett and Adam. How good? It was only a couple of grabs, but how good did our guy Cedric Tillman look last week?
He's a baller.
He had a couple of plays where I was like, I thought he looked like T. Higgins on one play out there.
Well, he's a big reason why. First of all, that they traded Peoples-Jones, but the big thing is that Cooper's got a big cap number next year. Amari Cooper.
Sure.
He will be starting next year. They drive him to be a starter eventually.
Yep.
The question is, when is Cooper going to be done with them? We'll see.
Probably it'll be him and Eli Moore next year. Top two wideouts there.
If Tillman doesn't get hurt his last year of college, he's a top 50 pick last year easily.
There you go. Cedric Tillman, get him now. Arrow pointing upward. Moving on to, as we move onward and upward, the big one, the Niners at the Eagles. Mr. Caplan, give us the lay of the land injury-wise here with Mr. Dallas Goedert. And by the way, while you're talking about it, will Zach Ertz head back to Philly?
I'd be stunned if that happened, man.
Really?
Why would they bring him back? Like, what would be the point?
Because they have no tight end too?
Well, no, Jack Stoll's their wide tight end. Goddard does everything. Now, they're a little banged up. They could use someone who could block, but that's not what Zach does. They need somebody who could help blocking. So Goddard did some work on the side today. So hopefully he'll be cleared next week. Remember, there's a reason why the Eagles didn't put him on IR. They thought he could return within 5 weeks. Next week will be the 4th week. So he's got a real shot.
What if Zach Ertz says, "Hey, I'll block"?
Yeah, but it's just, I always say never say. The way I answer questions like that is I say never, because that's really what it is. Here are the issues for them. Lane Johnson will play at right tackle. He had a scar tissue issue after the groin surgery in the spring. He says he's playing. He'll be good. Milton Williams, who's an absolute stud, number 93 defensive tackle. They expect him to get cleared from the concussion tomorrow. Fletcher Cox with a groin injury doesn't look good. They're really screwed at inside linebacker.
Cunningham.
Yeah, he's not going to play, I don't think. Christian Ellis, Luther Ellis' son, will start for him. He was an undrafted free agent last year who shouldn't be playing. Nick Marr is really small, will play opposite him. So this is not good for their ability to cover out of the backfield. For some reason, no team has really gotten these linebackers this season out of the backfield, but McCaffrey will do well against them. And yes, their secondary, which has been much maligned this season, is healthy, but I expect them to scheme it up and attack the secondary. I really do.
And George Kittle too.
Yeah, Kittle 19 for 19 his last 2 starts of the regular season against the Eagles.
Wow. And then Ayuk likely on Bradbury a lot. I mean, I guess Bradbury's playing a little bit better lately.
Yes.
Brett, what do you think here? Niner offense, how effective will they be in this matchup?
I'm a little skeptical this week. San Francisco's O-line has played, very poor the last few weeks, especially pass protecting. I think their pressure rate allowed the last 5 weeks has been like 42%, which is the third highest in the league. We know Philly's got the dudes to rush the passers, so I think that could be a huge turning point in this game for Philly. Philly's really struggled with quarterbacks that are mobile and can run. It's not really Brock Purdy, so I think this could be a little bit more of a dogfight than people are projecting. I do agree with Adam, though. McCaffrey should do very well in the pass game if they can get right down to distance situations.
John, another rain game, third straight week for the Eagles is expected. Now we saw it affected them against Kansas City, but both quarterbacks, particularly Allen, did pretty well in the rain. But the Eagles have issues at safety. At corner. Really, overall, they just because their pass rush is not as good as last year. Mm-hmm. And they're giving up massive digits, John. Massive.
I don't even think their run D is as good as last year, regardless of what the number says. James Cook had a couple nice ones last week.
Yeah, he did. No, he did. Well, here's the problem. They're not good at ILB, an inside linebacker. They're very young at D tackle. And Fletcher Cox, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah. And, Adam, what were your thoughts? What were you thinking about Jalen Hurts at the half? Because
it was bad. It
was bad.
Yeah, but he's got great resilience. I give him credit. I mean, he threw for 170, including overtime.
He wills it to happen.
It is. It's insane that he is a very good shot to combine for 40+ touchdowns. He's right on it. He's right on the number.
Yet he's a guy who at any point right now, no one would be shocked if the offense was shut down for 2 to 3 quarters.
Oh, but John, I'll say this: the Niners were trying to get. They actually called the Raiders for Nate Hobbs. They were told no. They called called the Bears for Jalen Johnson. He's improved, but here's the thing: without Goddard, they played, I think, around 20 snaps of 10 personnel. They're going to spread the Niners out, John. That's what they're going to do.
And the matchup schematically for Jalen Hurts against this defense, I know Brett, a lot of single high safety or some, which could mean return for A.J. Brown. Any thoughts here what are your thoughts on the Eagles offense?
I think they match up really, really well, guys. The Achilles heel for the 49ers defense all season has been any team that has decent offensive tackles.
Right.
That's it. And so we know Philadelphia does. I know Lane Johnson's banged up. Is he going to play, Adam?
Yes, he's expected to play.
Yeah. Okay, so,
now, Clowney, though, since you said that a month ago, Clowney is coming on, right?
Clowney?
Not Clowney. No, I confused Clowney moving over to the Ravens. What's his face? The former Redskin #1 pick. Chase Young.
Chase Young looks great. He's still just a rotational guy, though. He's not even cracked their top 5 as far as snaps played yet for the D-line. So, but yeah, I mean, they could throw 5, 6, 7 guys at you. It just doesn't matter. Their secondary has been bad. They play a ton of press as well. That's going to bode well for both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So,
all right, and moving on to the KC Chiefs at the Green Bay Packers. And Adam, injury-wise, here KC looks pretty clean. Jerick McKinnon, I guess, is going to be back in play.
No, it's questionable. He's still doing that groin. They won't know till tomorrow.
Right.
He got some work in.
Back in play, he might play.
He has a chance, but he's very questionable. In fact, he's had this for a while, and he's an older player. A lot of mileage on him.
No one cares either because no one's using him. They weren't starting him before when he was healthy.
Last year they were at this time.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. What a difference a year makes. Last year, league winner. This year, literally worthless. Like Aaron Jones, who looks like he's
bad. Yeah.
And Jaden Reed.
Jaden Reed's got a chest injury. They won't know till tomorrow. But Aaron Jones and he took a pretty big pay cut to come back. Dylan, by the way, same groin injury from last week. I believe he'll play, but Aaron Jones has been kind of non-entity this year.
I mean, Dylan was limited. He didn't look limited with the injury last week.
Good last week. Yeah.
He looked pretty good, and it is now going to be December for the game, night game. So that, I mean, I want the temperature to be like 9 for AJ Dillon. And I think Green Bay can hang here, Brett. I actually picked them to win because I think their offense is better. And it's in Green Bay. What are your thoughts on Green Bay and Love matching up here with KC? Play a lot of man. I think it could be a Watson day.
Could be a Watson day. I know, in our wide receiver CB tool, we're projecting a L'Jarius Sneed shadow for Romeo Doubs. I don't know that I'm willing to buy that.
I was thinking, would he shadow Watson?
Yeah, I know Watson. The argument is Watson plays in the slot a lot more than Doubs. I just don't see another corner on that roster that can run stride for stride with Watson. So, in my opinion, I think it would be a safer bet to go Sneed on Watson. And I think, Steve Spagnuolo is probably smarter than me, so he's probably going to agree with that statement. Yeah, I like the matchup for Green Bay for sure. Love has looked good in these 7-on-7 situations where there's not a great opposing pass rush. Kansas City's pass rush is relatively weak. They can scheme it up pretty good with some blitzes, but for the most part, Love is he looks pretty composed. So when he's not getting pressured, he moves the ball.
And for KC, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's Pacheco, it's Kelsey, Rashee Rice, and just a bunch of slop otherwise and worthlessness. Well, maybe Watson. So that's it. I don't think we need to spend too much time. I mean, Green Bay's D, I don't know. They're holding their own against the run. I thought they played well last week, even without Jair Alexander. Actually, you know what, Brett? Talk about it. Like, I don't think their secondary is a gimme.
Green Bay now?
Yeah, I think they're decent back there.
Yeah, they're decent. Yeah, I mean, is Jair back this week, by the way? Is he?
He's questionable.
He's questionable. Okay.
Shoulder problem.
I almost don't even know if it matters.
Yeah, for sure. Like we've said, he's not as scary as he once was. But the Green Bay's D really took a step forward when Rashawn Gary came back in week 3 or 4, or 5 even, and he's been working up each week. He's been getting more and more snaps, and he looks great. And that makes Preston Smith better. That makes Kenny Clark better. Everyone on the D line gets better, and the D line is really like that pass rush is what kind of controls that whole defense. So if their pass rush is hitting, then the secondary looks good. When they don't home, it looks bad. Go figure.
Speaking of that, like Jordan Love back there doing his taxes in the pocket last week, like, I mean, it won't be that good, but
he was actually defeating the John. Actually, I disagree. He was actually defeating the rush by getting it out quickly. He threw with anticipation, which he's never been an anticipation thrower. That was not only his best game as a professional. He looked like he was a 5-year vet. That's how good he was.
Yeah,
he played well the week before, but nothing like this. This was actually pretty special.
Yeah, he did have 11 straight dropbacks without pressure though, which is
right. But look at his ability to get rid of the football before they can get to him. That was phenomenal. Absolutely. I talked to 2 guys who graded the tape, and they were just blown away by the way that he played. He was awesome.
I mean, I see a little Mahomes there. Brett, right? Am I crazy?
No, similar archetype for sure.
Let's move on to almost done here. Cincy at Jacksonville, and that's it. And this won't take long at all. I don't have much on the Bengals offense here. I don't know. I mean, they didn't possess the ball that much. I guess I'll get T. Higgins back at him.
Nope. He's very questionable. He's got 2 injuries now. In fact, he's got an ankle in addition to the hamstring.
And a woozy.
He should go. Oh, Bob, this is really good for the Jaguars offense. Zay Jones off the injury report for the first time in 2 months. This is good.
Okay.
Well, Brett, we've gotten Calvin Ridley right 2 weeks in a row. So is this another Calvin Ridley day, or are they all good Calvin Ridley days as long as Zay Jones is playing?
Yeah, I don't know that I buy the correlation there. The sample size is ridiculously small, but Calvin's going to catch a shadow from Awuzie, so that's not great. Awuzie looks good this year. He looks awesome. So Cincinnati's pass rush has been good. Although Trey Hendrickson, since he banged up that knee, he has not been the same player at all.
Well, you do have Kirk often on Mike Hilton, who's been better than Awuzie, I think.
Yes, yeah. A lot of that is they just play a lot of zone, so they
Yeah.
can still give up points to the slot without it going through Mike Hilton necessarily.
But Hilton, every time I see him, he's making a play. Like he's doing something good.
Yep, that's true.
Well, are we back? And Adam, real quick, ETN.
Yeah, he's got ribs. He should go, though. He should go. The big one's Tyson Campbell with a lingering hamstring. Still very questionable to play.
For those who have ETN, like I know it's boring and you feel like a dope, but I really would get Dearness Johnson.
I told you, John, how good he was in training camp. He was better than Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, he's solid. Gets it done. Good fill-in starter for 1 or 2 weeks. Brad, are we back with Trevor Lawrence in general? Like, are we feeling better? Like where he's at? I feel pretty good. Like they've climbed out of the doldrums, and I feel like now we're good now. I think.
Yeah, I think the knee being healthier helps. You know, he's been a lot more decisive and assertive recently. So he plays fast in general, but sometimes he plays so fast he confuses himself. He's definitely settled it down, and I definitely like what I've seen.
Well, that's going to wrap it up here. I see Derek Brown with a bunch of comments here. We do not look at the comments typically during this live stream, but thank you for the contributions. For everyone else, of course, on Sunday morning, me, Tom Brawley, and Graham Barfield doing the live stream before the kickoffs. Not to toot our own horns or anything, but I really do believe that the three of us have gotten way more of the start, sit, lineup questions right, and it's hard to do this year. So check that out on Sunday morning. Check out all the live streams and broadcasts and all that. For Adam Caplan and Brett Whitefield, our guy on the other side of the glass there, Tommy T, good luck in week 13, and we'll catch you next week at fantasypoints.com.